Dutch knife collector here. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today I want to cover a few things about improving the edge of your knife, especially improving edge holding. But first of all, I want to do a shout out. I want to do a shout out for Jos from Cool Kid Survival. It's a young kid, and on his channel, by the way, at this moment 130 subs and 21 videos, and on his channel he covers some things like survival kits, reviewing knives, gear, etc. Because it's a young kid, I think it's nice to sub to his channel, just to encourage him. What's better than a young kid interested in survival gear, knives, etc. So please check him out and let him know that I sent you. Okay, improving the edge of your knife. Lots of things to improve the edge of a knife, with sharpening, the angle of the edge, the geometry, etc, etc, etc. One thing which is almost always overlooked is that from the factory, often, maybe even most of the times, a knife comes with the edge sharpened in a way that just below the edge, the very apex, just below that, on the transition to the actual grinding, there is a small kind of ridge-like line, and you can find it by putting your fingernail right under the edge. And I think it's very difficult to get it on camera. And then pull towards the back, and you can feel that your nail got catched up. Sometimes it's very good to feel, and sometimes it's not that bad. And the way it looks, I've made a drawing. I can't draw, but I made it. Is, which you can see here, this transition, and there you find that ridge most of the time. What will happen when you cut or slice is that on this point it will catch the material you're cutting or slicing. And you can, and for example, when cutting paper, often people say it's difficult, or behind the tripod, or etc, etc, because the blade will catch up very often. But often it is caused by these ridges. Actually, you want to improve that so the ridge is gone, so the edge is cutting or slicing way better. The way I do that is by taking my sharpening stone, and depending how obtrusive that little ridge is, I take a lower or a higher grit, and then I have to put this in camera properly. Then I find the spot with my nail, and I can even put a little line with the Sharpie, and then I will put my stone on that little ridge and carefully grind or sand it off. And I do that, of course, with also higher grit stone, so it gets a nice polish. This will improve the cutting dramatic. Just try it. Try it on a cheap knife and you'll see cutting will improve. The second improvement is, let me first explain this. What happens to your edge when you are cutting is that there are forces on the apex, and this will cause, when you're cutting abrasive or hard materials, this will cause with high hardened steels microchips, and with softer steels they could cause roll-ups or a mix of both. And so after a while you have to resharpen your knife or to strop it again to get rid of the rolls and the chips. So a further improvement is slightly convex your edge. The very apex, convex the very apex. You can see it in this drawing, and this way the forces on the apex are much more distributed, and the edge will hold up way longer. For example, I can explain it with this. For example, the tang of the blade, where the stop pin hits the tang, that space is often round off to distribute forces, so the tang doesn't get damaged by hitting the stop pin time after time after time. The same goes for the apex. When you slightly round off the corners, slightly round off the apex, you get much more distribution of the impact on the apex. So that's another thing to improve the cutting ability and to edge holding of your knife. And the way I do such a thing, I do it by hand. You can't do this with a system. So I find the angle on my sharpening stone, and then I slightly lower even the angle, so there is a small gap, and then I pull, and while pulling I increase the angle, and it's just a matter of feeling. It's practicing, 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 but you get it done in the end. This way you can, and I don't know if it shows up on camera, but this way you can convex the edge. Just slightly round off. I don't know if this shows up, but anyway, in the drawing it's pretty clear, I think. And then another improvement you can get with this process is that you polish the surface of the edge of the apex, and a polished surface keeps up way better than an unpolished surface. You often hear people talk about a toothy edge, that they prefer a toothy edge. Well, I prefer a polished edge. A polished edge will keep its sharpness way longer than a toothy edge. A toothy edge may seem more aggressive cutting, but it's only for a short time, because the metal has kind of cohesion, so when tearing off a little tooth of the apex, it will tear off more material, so you get more micro-shipping or rolling. And a polished edge, again, because of the convex, it distributes the powers, the impact, but the polished surface will improve that capability. So this I wanted to cover today. In the future I will do an extended video about this subject, and I will demonstrate it, but I have to find a way to bring this in camera. So let me demonstrate the advantages of these improvements. What you often see is when someone demonstrates paper cutting, that it depends on which side of the paper they cut, if it will slide through. Say for push cuttings, and you often see that it doesn't do well on certain angles or on certain sides of the paper. When you have a sharp edge like this, it doesn't matter which angle you choose of the paper, it slices through. So also against the grain of the paper, it will just slide. And when you see someone failing, and I demonstrate failing, I can't demonstrate failing. When you see a knife fails cutting through on a certain side of the paper, it's often because it's against the grain, and it can be caused by this little ridge. It just catches up against the grain. I would give a recommendation for this knife. This is a discontinued Kaiser model. It's the KY4424. This is discontinued by Kaiser, but it's still available in most web shops, at the most dealers of Kaiser. In Holland this one is on sale at the local dealer Mes & Zo. So when you still have the chance to pick this up, please do it if you have the funds, because this is a very good slicer, a very good cutting knife. It has a thin hollow grind. I improved the edge the way I explained it earlier on in this video. and this is a very good performing knife. F35VN, full titanium frame, runs on washers, and it is super smooth. Mine is not 100% centered, but it's okay. It's almost centered, and you can see it is very smooth running just on washers. Personally, if a knife is smooth on washers, I prefer that above smoothness on bearings. This is a big knife, 4-inch blade. It's also I think a hard use knife with these thick titanium slabs and a thick blade, but it's very nice, thin grinding, hollow ground. So with the improvements I made to the edge, this is a real performer, and it will keep its edge forever. I can only recommend this knife. Pick it up while you can. And by the way, this is the lanyard I put on it. I think I like it. If you like this video, please like it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them in the comment section, and I will try to answer all comments. That's it for now. Bye bye.